For NY Up and Syracuse.com, this is Matt Parrino coming to you from St. John Fisher College, where the Buffalo Bills just wrapped up their second to last practice here in Rochester. They're going to head back to Buffalo for the first preseason game against the Indianapolis Colts Thursday night. But a lot happening with the Bills right now. The offensive line is definitely a bit banged up. The Bills lost Adrian Waddle yesterday in practice. It's been reported that he has a torn quad going into the season. And numbers are dwindling for this unit that, you know, we've been talking a lot about the last few weeks and months leading into training camp and this season, about how much work Brandon Beane and his staff have done to kind of rebuild this offensive line from the ground level up. Mitch Morse, the highest paid center in the NFL now on the Bills roster, still in the concussion protocol. And we saw him running out here at practice today, which is a nice development. But obviously there are some concerns with this line. Sean McDermott talked about it at practice, or before practice today at his press conference, about how it's important to build that continuity, and when guys aren't out there, it's hard to do that. But it's more reps for more guys, and I wrote about it today over on the site. Connor McDermott is going to get a lot more reps here as we go on into the preseason, an audition for that swing tackle role that I think a lot of people believed to be Adrian Waddle's to lose. Now, if you've been following along the last couple days, you will have noticed the development of Cody Ford, rookie second-round draft pick, who has been with the at right tackle throughout the spring, and then into training camp here has been moved inside to right guard. So that's an interesting development, and it also kind of messes with the projected depth chart when you're talking about the projected offensive line going into this season. I think a lot of people were earmarking that right tackle battle between Ty Nsekhe and Cody Ford, but it looks like the Bills are trying out some things here. Sean McDermott said something interesting today during his press conference. He said, we want to get the best 5 players on the field. And as we've talked about the different combinations that we could see in the preseason and in training camp, that Cody Ford moving inside was one of the things we've talked about, because then it allows you to play Nsekhe, Dion Dawkins, Quentin Spain, Mitch Morse, and Cody Ford, get them all on the field, and that could ideally be your best combination. Plus, it allows for something else. If you have been following along also, you've noticed that the play of Russell Bodine has been subpar. It's been bad. I mean, we talked about this last season. That's an area that was concerning for the staff enough to go out and pay Mitch Morse this offseason. But they got to figure things out, because with Mitch Morse back in the concussion protocol, his 4th concussion in the last 5 seasons now, they have to have a backup plan. And I think that backup plan is going to consist of John Feliciano and Spencer Long, 2 guys that were in the mix for a starting role at guard. But I think with the injury to Mitch Morse and now the concern heading into the season, they need to make sure that both of those guys are getting as many reps as possible at that center spot. We'll continue to track this offensive line, how this looks throughout the course of the preseason. Josh Allen, it's been a kind of inconsistent few days for Josh Allen. He's struggled a little bit. The last couple of days, I think it was Sunday's practice, yesterday's practice, where he was just kind of all over the place. I talked to Cole Beasley, who told me, listen, you can blame it on Josh because he is the quarterback, but it's also on the receivers. I mean, sloppy play. You saw today that there was some moments where things were consistently going. I thought I was impressed with John Brown and Josh Allen's connection on a few drives there. And it stands out to me because I think John Brown needs to be that consistent, reliable target for Josh Allen when this season gets going. I think a lot of people look at Cole Beasley and Zay Jones and what they can do in the slot. But I think that John Brown's consistency in his route running ability will be a weapon for Josh Allen, not just down the field, but in that short game. You saw him running, several out patterns today, some stop and goes, some comeback routes. So I think that John Brown, we're going to get a chance to see it for the first time in a game setting on Thursday night, and then more so in the first 3 preseason games. And I'm going to be interested to track how that looks. But Josh Allen's juggling a lot right now. He's got an offensive line that's in flux in front of him. A lot of moving parts constantly. He's running also with the second team at times as they run through these drills. And the interior offensive line play just hasn't been good. I noted on Friday night, he was flushed from the pocket at least 50% of his dropback. So he's dealing with the same thing that we talked a lot about last year, and dealing with a breakdown in protection up front. And then that sends him into, Josh Allen have to do it all himself mode. And he did that well at times last year, but they reconstructed this line with the idea being that he could develop a little bit more as a passer. So we'll see how that develops. We'll see when Mitch Morse gets back. He was running today, looks to be in good spirits and good health, kind of joking around with some guys on the sideline, so we'll see how that goes. I talked to Star Latulele after practice today because I was thinking about Cody Ford's first 2 days, and it's tough to kind of see how he's progressing out there as we're trying to watch all these different things. And I asked Star, like, you have a front row seat to it. You're going up against him. You're battling with him. And he said, listen, he's doing fine. Cody said one of the biggest differences about moving to the inside is that everything happens quicker. The defenders are on you quicker. You have to get to your spots and your angles quicker. And Starr said he's doing a great job, but it's just his second day there in the NFL. He played there as a junior in college at Oklahoma, but it's a little bit different with this level of competition. So Starr says you'll see progressions from him each and every day, and it'll be interesting to see how long the Bills keep him there and what that first team offensive line looks like on Thursday night when they go up against the Colts. If you've been tracking the wide receivers down on the depth chart, Ray McLeod continues to shine here. I mean, I'm not going to write about it every day in observations, but I feel like I could, because he is showing a consistency that wasn't even there last year in training camp when I thought that he looked really good at times. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's dialed in from a mental perspective, and that's a nice thing to have if you're Brian Daboll and Chad Hall, to have a wide receiver room consisting of about 6 players that are really playing well and really seem to be vibing as a group. I think Andre Roberts, he is going to be a real addition to this wide receiver room. I noted it today. He was working with Ray after practice today, but he's making plays with the first team offense. He is a playmaker. You saw it last year in New York. He made the Pro Bowl as a return man. If he gets the ball in his hands, he is a playmaker. He can make plays, and I'm interested to see how Brian Daboll can deploy him in this offense. One of the questions I get a lot from fans is updates on Tremaine Edmunds and Matt Milano. And, I noticed today that they were out working with Bob Babbage, linebackers coach, while special teams were going on and some offensive individual drills. And, it continues to impress me that, that element of Tremaine Edmunds and Matt Milano's game where they're constantly looking to learn. You could see a lot of guys out there kind of going through the motions. That's never Tremaine Edmunds. And really, I've noticed that as well in Matt Milano. And they're just working on technique, recognition when they hit their gaps. Bob Babbage has the garbage pails out there some days. Today he had, one of the sticks that he uses to have them work on their hand placement and their slaps and everything like that. So, I've been really impressed with the development of Tremaine Edmunds. And I talked to him yesterday about being a leader on this team now and what's the mindset. And he just said, it comes back to this over and over again with this team, but it's about, daily growth mindset. I know that it's cliche that Sean McDermott uses, but they really live that here. It starts at the top with McDermott, and it funnels out through all the position coaches and onto the players and the leaders in each of these rooms. So I thought that was interesting to note. And finally, I'll have a story on Tommy Sweeney and Lee Smith coming out later today. I was able to talk to Lee Smith and Tommy a little bit about the dynamic of that room. A lot of young up-and-coming players, and Lee Smith is kind of that veteran presence in there. And he said he's been so impressed with Tommy Sweeney. Every day out here, Tommy Sweeney's making plays. Today he had a nice touchdown grab, and tight ends coach Rob Boris came charging out there to congratulate him. And Lee Smith told me, listen, if you think that Tommy Sweeney is just a blocking tight end, keep thinking that, because he is going to surprise you. I've liked what I've seen in terms of his hands, his speed, his quickness, and I think that it's going to be fun to see him in a game environment coming up in the preseason here, to see if he can continue to make plays, because with Dawson Knox out of the mix, and even when Dawson Knox gets back, you want to have some depth from a playmaking perspective. And so far, Tommy Sweeney is making plays throughout camp. Guys, keep it locked on to NYUpInSyracuse.com. Tomorrow is the last day of practice here in Rochester, so we'll have our last full day of coverage from here, and then it shifts back to Buffalo. We'll have the preseason game, and then training camp moves on over the weekend, and we're out to Carolina next week. So we always appreciate you reading everything, watching everything, and for all of your Bills content, keep it locked on the NY Up, Syracuse.com.